92% of employers are preparing for possible layoffs yet in 2024. You better wake up. You better get prepared. You better start thinking about some form of side hustle, something to do, because it could be coming for you. Now, here's a small update. Walgreens recently announced 1,200 stores to be shut down. As of, they only have 1,300 approximately employees that have been laid off. What does that mean? A heck of a lot more people are going to get laid off. Rite Aid, one in my local town, gone, shut down. They're bankrupt, laying off tons of people. You know, it's hard to find exact data on that company because I think they've been laying off so much, and some of them probably furloughed or got some severance package, so some of those numbers won't show up till later. But if you see one shut down, people have been laid off. Another one, Stellantis, UAW auto company here in Michigan, Warren and Sterling Heights. Layoffs are coming. Actually, I do believe some people have already gotten it, or they already know they're getting it. Up to 1,100 people just in Warren are going to be let go. You think that's the only UAW company? Guess what? There's going to be a little bit more coming down that pike. There's a ton of issues. This economy sucks. This economy's terrible. Anybody who thinks that it isn't, then you don't have a clue of what you're spending your money on. Everybody is spending well more than $3,000 every year to buy the same goods that they did a few years ago. And now things are finally happening. It's kind of odd. The unemployment rate don't seem to tick up when there's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people losing their job. Kind of odd the unemployment rate didn't tick up when they found out 800,000 jobs that they said were created when they ended up redacting that over this past year in 2024 and part of 2023. Nothing happened to the unemployment rate. What the heck's going on there? Think somebody's lying? You're doggone right they're lying. They don't want you to know how bad it is out there. They just want you to think it's all good and rosy and just going to get better. It isn't. Here's a list of some other companies in 2024 already laid off, and some of these laid off last year. Pretty quiet. Haven't heard about some of them. Here, I'm going to have to actually look at the list because this is just a handful. It's pretty strong here. Amazon, Tesla, Google, TikTok, Snap, Microsoft, Walmart, Indeed, Pfizer, Bayer, J&J, BMS, Warner, Paramount, and Twitch. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other companies that have already laid off. Ones that are planning. CVS, the pharmacy, wherever you see these on every corner in most towns. They're all over the place. Laid off 3,000 people. You think that's the beginning? That is just the beginning. More is coming. Kind of hard to believe. All the Rite Aids, most of the Rite Aids are gone, and yet these other companies are still having problems. Kind of interesting. Where do you think that would be? Let me give you a little example. Rite Aid, my small town. The population is enormously larger now than it was 5 years, 10 years ago. Rite Aid was making it then. They haven't made it now. They're shutting down. What's going on? Don't make any sense. There's more people living here. Got to be more people shopping there. What? You know what part of this is? Corporate greed. You see the people at the top? How many of them are being let go or shut down? And if they do get rid of one of those idiots at the top, they turn around and put another one in there and pay them crazy hundreds of millions of dollars to keep making the same mistakes. You know, if you end up getting rid of a handful of them people, maybe at the bottom they can end up making it. Huh? How about anybody where you work at and you start looking around at all the salary people versus the hourly people and you start thinking, why in the world are all these people here? Really? And you think when there's a layoff coming, if you work at a small place and you might have 5 or 10 people eventually let off, you see any salary people getting let go? Probably highly unlikely. They do protect their own. Are they needed? I think in most cases, there's a lot of salary people not needed. There are multiple layers of the same BS that flows from the top down that if they can just eliminate them right out of the middle. Common sense. If you were a small business, even if it was a factory or whatever, and you're a small business run by the family, usually common sense plays a bigger part. It's these big corporate companies that come on in and think they got to end up just pulling all the profits completely out, running the company down to close to nothing. And then they keep their jobs, they get their bonuses, and then just turn around and cut and run. Getting sick and tired of it? You probably work for one of them. You better start thinking of a side hustle or a part-time job. Could be the same thing. Tons of side hustles. I've been doing a side hustle freaking my whole life because of all these different companies and how these scenarios seem to come around all the time. I've seen it firsthand. Salary people usually the last to go. Very, very few. And if you're over heavy on salary, and you could easily look at it, you got 10, 15, maybe even 20 regular employees doing some work, and you got a salary person trying to oversee just 10 or 15, and you got that all over your factory or your company, you got too many salary people. People aren't stupid nowadays. You just give them a little responsibility, treat them right, and pay them well, and they'll do the job, and you can get rid of half of those middlemen workers, those lower end salary people. Oh, I can go on about that. Possibly a later video. So now let's go with all this stuff going on, everything going on. If you're not at a company that has layoffs, I guarantee upstairs they're talking about, they're thinking about it. They might not happen. You might get lucky, but it also can. And also you can look at, one thing also to consider is if you don't get laid off, is if you rely on overtime and you get a little overtime cut back for a long time, that's like a small layoff. If you're in need of it, that's going to hurt. And that could easily be the thing that comes down the pike if you're lucky enough to be at a place. In most companies, you'll never find out how many people ever laid off because they don't have to report it. If it's under 50 people by the federal government, they don't have to report it. They just lay off the 4 or 5 or 6, and all of a sudden you got hundreds of companies in your area that do that. All of a sudden you got thousands of people that are laid off, and only if you know about it, word of mouth, or you happen to be one or worked at a place that had one. That's just how it is. So what is your combat? What do? Side hustle. You better look into it. You better get on it. And if you don't even think you're getting laid off, do it anyways. Because it could be happening to you. And when it happens and you don't have something already started, it's a little tough to get it going after the fact. So what the heck? You probably got a little time in your hands. Get at it. Please like and subscribe. This is Jeff at Below Average, trying to give you a little bit of reality. Thank you. Bye.